Good morning. Welcome to Daily Focus. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to catch up with me today before the weekend. Yesterday, I was not able to spend any time with you, but I wanted to meet with you this morning. We're going to be in Psalm 52. And wow, what a psalm! I've entitled this one, "Oh, be careful, little mouth, what you say." Most of us grew up in Sunday school singing the song, "Oh, be careful, little hands, what you do, and feet where you go, and ears what you hear, and mouth what you say." And that's really what is going on here. I think most of us, because we're so naturally selfish and so we have such a penchant for depravity, that we justify what comes out of our mouth. Most of us have regretted at some point what we've said or how we've said something or that we said anything at all. And so I think most all of us can really relate to this passage, but I don't know that any of us realize just how serious God takes what comes out of our mouth. And so this psalm is very convicting. I'll warn you ahead of time. And so he says, "Why boastest thou thyself in mischief, O mighty man? The goodness of God endureth continually. Thy tongue deviseth mischiefs. Like a sharp razor working deceitfully, thou lovest evil more than good, and lying rather than to speak righteousness, Selah. Thou lovest all devouring words, O thou deceitful tongue." In other words, he's like, oh, you just had to say it, didn't you? He's like the devouring, the putting down, the putting in the place, the I just had to say it mindset. Oh, thou deceitful tongue. In other words, oh, you and I are so prone to justify and what we say and if we say, and God is going to address that. "God shall likewise destroy thee forever." In other words, wow, there is something there. God is saying, I hate when your tongue runs wild, like I would deal with the wicked of the unsaved. "He shall take thee away and pluck thee out of thy dwelling place and root thee out of the land of the living, Selah." In other words, God takes what we say really serious. And if we're going to be hurtful with our mouth, if we're going to be destructive with our words, if we're going to be selfish with what we are doing, God says, you know what? I take that very serious. And then he says something really fearful. He says, "The righteous also shall see and fear and shall laugh at him." In other words, you will become the story of somebody's calamity. In other words, as people are talking about the calamities of the world, your name is going to come up. When they talk about the foolishness of people's decisions, your name is going to come up. When people laugh in derision of somebody's dumb decisions, your name is going to come up. That's what he's talking about. "The righteous shall see and fear and shall laugh at them." In other words, he is giving us this idea that the righteous are going to see how God deals with people who cannot control their tongue. And the righteous is going to learn some lessons. They're going to learn that this is a bad, bad path. And so we better be careful about what comes out of our mouth. "Lo, this is the man that made not God his strength, but trusted in the abundance of his riches and strengthened himself in his wickedness." Well, who is it that most often lacks the discernment in how they use their tongue? Well, it's the guy who boasts in his riches, who's so busy telling everybody that of his accomplishments. It's the guy who couldn't complete a sentence without drawing attention to himself. This is the guy who doesn't speak of God, but draws attention to what he's doing or she's doing and why. And and God is saying, "Oh, you're so foolish. You just do not understand where this is going to take you." And he says, "But I am like a green olive tree in the house of God. I trust in the mercy of God forever and ever." David said, "You know what? I'm going to learn from people like that, and I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to learn that people who gossip, uh, God notices that, and God hates that. People who are talebearers, they just have to tell the latest news, even if it's true. It just doesn't need to be repeated. The person who runs to somebody to generate questions about authority, and they know exactly what they're doing. God has zero tolerance of that. And David said, "You know what? I'm not going to be like that. I'm not going to be the one who loses their cool and loses their temper and spouts off at the mouth. I'm not going to be the one who's braggadocious and cannot complete a sentence without drawing attention to themselves. I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to trust in the mercy of God forever and ever. I will praise thee forever because thou hast done it. And I will wait on thy name, for it is good before thy saints." God, I'm going to make it all about you. Life is not going to be about me. And I am going to make sure that I make a high priority of exalting God and his goodness and his mercy and his strength. It's not about me. So when I run my mouth, it's going to be praising God. He says in verse 9, "I will praise thee forever." Verse number 8, "I will trust in thy mercy." When I open my mouth, it's going to speak highly of my great God and never bring shame upon his name. Boy, if we could get that mastered, I will join you in praying together for each other, that we'll just be careful about what comes out of our mouth, that we'll take a little time to think before we speak. God bless you. I hope you have a great weekend. I'll look forward to seeing you again next week.